Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is behind the steel curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you once again. It's Tuesday night. It's 9 o'clock. If you're a Steelers fan, where else would you rather be? I like being here simply because I get to hang out with me, as always, my big brother, Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
Hey, what's up, Steeler fans? What's going on? I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I hope everybody else that's here is happy to be here. If you're not happy to be here,
go do something else. Yeah, go do something else. If you're not here and you're not happy to be here, then go do something else and make happy. It's the off season. We're not telling you to go away. We're simply saying, hey, we're here. Let's have a good time.
Yeah. If you're here and they're like, man, I could be doing something better than listening to these two idiots, then you know what? Go do something better. Feel free.
Yep. And then we got Kobe Grant in the live chat that says he's got the same shirt as me. I have the infamous black and yellow. I'm sorry, it's black and gold to me. But I bought this black and yellow shirt because it's interesting. And frankly, I wanted a long sleeve yellow shirt. So this was it. This is what I could do. And this is what I got. So I'm sporting the gold tonight for those of you listening in audio form and can't see our wonderful backgrounds where I have my great Steelers flags and my fantastic Star Wars Steelers helmet. And Rich has the great, what kind of mount is that called that you have with the black and gold?
The European mount done in Steeler colors of a deer. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, and you know what? He's not real visible right now. Let me get him over here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You also got your
oh, let's go the other way.
Well, no, you were fine until you put your head back in the way.
I know.
You've got some Steelers memorabilia in the background.
There you go.
You can't make up your mind.
That's the big kick guy. It's not technically Steelers, but he's in black and gold. He wore number 3. Wore number 3. The year he came out, the kicker for the Steelers was number 3, Jeff Reed.
Jeff
Reed.
Reed.
When I bought that for my daughter, Alex, that's what she called him. That was Jeff Reed.
The paper towel holder slayer. Jeffrey,
yeah.
Yes. So, and it's funny because the last time I was at your house, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, that camera does not do that deer mount justice. It's actually quite an impressive spread for a 6-point, but because of where it is on the wall, I'm like, it always looks so small behind you in the shot. But I love.
Everybody thinks the wall's right behind me,
yeah.
And I can't just reach around and touch it. I actually have to turn around and lean out and touch it. So
yeah, and when you do that, we can't hear you because of the microphone.
What?
Exactly. So, hey, we're here. The pleasantries are over. There was no football on Sunday. I did a special show on Sunday night with Jeffrey Benedict. We just came on, answered questions because we didn't really have anything else to do. We do have another Sunday show coming soon on YouTube. We do. It'll be here eventually. Other than that, everything is the same because we obviously don't have a post-game show, but everything's the same on the YouTube side that we get coming in here. So make sure you're here for the shows if you're able to tune in with us. We like to try to go at the exact same time every week. Next week might be a little bit different for me. I'll have a different background because I'm actually going on vacation. But as long as I can get my internet connection down, I will still be here for the show. It just will be I'd say it would be the ocean in the background, but it'll be dark by 9 o'clock. So that's just one of those things that we wanted to say. Also,
and if you don't have good internet connection, we'll just replace you.
Oh, we'll just replace me. Yep. So I'll have to check on all that when I get down there with somebody better, someone better looking, which obviously we could pretty much pick anybody else on the podcast staff and we could handle that one. So also make sure if you don't like looking at our faces, especially mine, we also have our audio only shows. Make sure you're checking all those out with the Let's Ride, the Stat Geek, Live Mike. That's what you have Monday through Friday. And then we have our noon lineup. Great shows there. Another great cutting room floor from Jeffrey Benedict today. If you didn't check that one out, if you're excited about the Brian Flores hire, listening to Jeffrey's podcast, you're just going to get even more excited.
Yeah.
If you're down on the Pat Meyer hire, okay, at offensive line, listen to Jeffrey's podcast and you're going to feel much better about it. Seriously, he's really dug into some stuff with Pat Meyer, and you're going to feel much better about it if you listen to that podcast. So I'm teasing that. And then, of course, we've got all the other ones.
I thought Jeffrey did a great job digging into the Brian Flores stuff.
It was I mean,
Like-
he did Meyer in part 1 and Flores in part 2. It was some
Yeah.
really good stuff. Yeah. So, and then there was a fantastic Brian Flores article today from KT Smith on the website,
Yep.
Steelers.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you're checking that out as well. But yeah, we've got the other great shows on the noon lineup as well with Jeremy Betts and Andrew Wilbar. I still think I think they're focusing on draft stuff now that it's not fantasy, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yes,
we already mentioned Jeffries.
Yes, they've been focused in draft.
Yeah, though you've got Matty P's War Room, you've got Yins, you've got Bad and KT Smith. I can't remember what they call their show. I just know it was the pregame show during the season, but I don't remember what it is now. And then you get the Ohioans on Saturday. Lots of good stuff. Just make sure you're tuning in. We've got a super chat, and boy, is it a super chat. We've got $20 from Dave Shipley in the tip
And
jar.
then he got his $20 worth in what he put out there, huh? So
But I didn't read it yet. So he says, Dave, I wanted to shout out to you. It's been a while since I've been on, and you were on boats, and Dick recognized your awesomeness in statistics, and I couldn't be more proud of you. Is that that's referencing from sorry, I was trying to figure out what it was. That was that from where we were mentioned on First Things First, Behind the Steel Curtain, on Fox Sports 1. I don't know if he's referencing that or not. I'm trying to figure it out while I'm dealing with other stuff here with the show. You remember that when we were brought up on
yes, I do. Yep.
Yeah. So, but no, Dave Shipley, haven't seen you here for a while. Great to see you back. Glad that you're here. Thanks for the $20 in the tip jar. So, Rich, let's dive into this topic. I know we're more than several minutes into the show, but we've done the spiel of making sure where you can catch everything. And I told everyone that, might be a different face next week, but if nothing else, it'll be a different background. What we're going to talk about is we're going to take the next 3 weeks leading up to free agency to kind of just look at free agency. When we come back, the fourth time we come back, that'll be after the legal tampering period begins, before the beginning of officially the beginning of the league year, where you're going to get all the reports that players are signing, but yet nothing will be official and they could always back out.
Right.
But what we're going to do is next week and the week after, we're going to look at, specifically looking at what the Steelers should be looking at in free agency. We're going to do offense 1 week. We're going to do defense the next week. Well, the other week, I think we'll go offense, defense. We might change our mind. I don't know that it really matters. But what we're going to talk about tonight is the Steelers' free agent philosophy. Last year was a crazy year. Wouldn't you say so? When it came to Steelers and free agency?
A little bit.
Basically because of that crazy salary cap going down almost $20 million. And the Steelers were in a situation where they had to make cap cuts. They had to rework stuff with Ben Roethlisberger. They're doing things they've never done before and void years in contracts in order to help get to be a better salary cap situation moving forward. So they couldn't. I'm trying to think. Free agents that the Steelers got last year during the free agency period. Can you think of any off the top of your head?
I mean, I know the guys we eventually signed, but But I mean, I know we signed Joe Haeg.
There you go.
I know we signed Trey Turner, but I don't know. I don't exactly remember when. That was
in June, but they eventually got Turner.
But the only one I remember right early on was Joe Haeg.
Yeah, was Joe Haeg. And that's really all there was, because all their other he was the only one that wasn't for like a veteran minimum contract. He was the only one. He was the only one that was counting in the compensatory formula. Now, eventually, the Steelers had Ahkello Witherspoon counting in the compensatory formula because
they traded
that was acquired during a trade. So you had Joe Haeg. You had some guys like Miles Killebrew. He was brought in as a free agent. Arthur Millette, he was technically a free agent, but there really wasn't anything they did. The biggest thing that the Steelers did, I would say, was they signed Cam Sutton and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yep.
I would say that was the biggest free agent signings they had, and they were their own players. But that's kind of just the hand that they were dealt. Okay. All right. So we've got another one here from Dave Shipley.
He was clarifying.
Okay.
Clarification.
So what was his clue? Can you explain? Break this down for me. I'm trying to still understand. He put $5 more into the tip jar. He says, Moats and Deke, I don't have access to
Deke. Yeah. And then he was actually talking about he didn't have access to our podcasts and stuff. He was in Korea. He was in Korea for a while. Now he's home.
Yes. So
that's why we haven't seen him for a while.
There you go. Well, that's good. Good to. It's always nice when you see people in the live chat you haven't seen for a while, and with some really good stuff. Yeah, I saw here earlier. He said finally home. That's great. The Steelers. I'm going to make a statement about the Steelers free agent philosophy, and I want you to see
from last year or that you're
in general.
About? Oh, just
because last year was the exception, and I'm going to explain how it was the exception, and we'll definitely see a byproduct of that. Okay. To me, the Pittsburgh Steelers, while not always flashy, their goal is to fill all their team needs in free agency.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. To an extent that is normally, and and you could expand on that a little bit.
Okay. How would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, the way I'd expand on it a little bit is they typically look to get everything filled in free agency, although with what they fill it with may not be, to quote Regis Philbin, the final answer.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Yes. I like the way you said that. Is like if the Steelers are really short, and I'm going to pick a random position. I'm going to say the safety position. If they're really short on players at the safety position, they will add the players that they need for the safety position. Now, if they go into the draft and they decide they want to add in the first round this all fantastic safety, I'm using this as an example because I haven't heard of any first round safeties that I could even know anything about. But then they would add that player as a hopeful upgrade.
Yes,
because I'm saying this because I'm trying to compare. I know everyone's into the draft. Go ahead.
Yes, to put it in. Well, we can't talk about free agency and the draft without one referencing the other.
Exactly.
Okay. There's no way to do it. They are connected. For the Steelers, the draft is about upgrading. For Steelers, free agency is about, for lack of a better term, I'll say filling out their roster.
Filling it out. That's exactly what I was going to say. So bottom line is the Steelers generally, and Kevin Colbert has said this over and over again, they don't want to go to the draft looking at a position that they have to draft someone to be they have to draft a position to be their starter. That is their goal. Last year, they could not do that. They couldn't.
Correct.
And if you look at it, you're like, oh, wow, look at all the rookies the Steelers had to call on last year. It's because they had to. Because of the salary cap situation. I'm saying not just their salary cap situation, the league-wide salary cap situation. Mm-hmm. And the Steelers did that because they had to. And that's not what they like to do, but they had to. And I've said it over and over again, and some people disagree with me. The Steelers generally, the first-round pick is a little bit different. All right? The first-round pick's really the only player that the Steelers look to really be in the mix as a starter every year. Okay. Doesn't mean they get a position handed to them. Steelers said they regretted penciling in Ryan Shazier before he even came to training camp. Last year, obviously, Najee Harris was the guy. That's what you had to do. That was the situation they were in. So they use an approach to the draft of we need to make our roster better with the draft after we filled in where we have every position, because the Steelers don't like to go into a season having to count on their draft picks in week 1.
Right.
Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah.
And they absolutely had to last year. Yeah.
The Steelers want to go in the draft. No, and I'm just going to pick a position. Okay. The Steelers want to go into the draft having their 2 offensive guard positions filled.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the draft, if given the opportunity to get someone who could potentially beat out one of those 2 guys and become the starter, that's what they do then.
Yeah.
But then they don't have to draft the guard.
Yeah. But if you draft that guard, go ahead. You finish.
We constantly talk about the Steelers, liking the Steelers to be in a position of taking the best player available. You can only do that if all the positions on your team are filled where you feel you could be okay with that.
Exactly. So the Steelers go into the draft, and let's use your guard example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's say they need another guard. They go out in free agency, they get a player that could be that could be their guard going into the next season.
Right.
But then they have a specific player they really like, a guard that's there at 20 for them. Kind of like in 2012 when one was there at 24 for them. Okay, they have a position, a player at that position. You can draft that player thinking that they are going to be,
hang tight. Bye, Dave.
Oh, he has to roll? Yeah.
His wife didn't know he was home yet, so he's got to hop out of here.
Well, it's great to come back. Glad you're home safe, Dave. Not me, Dave. That was Dave Shipley in the live chat. Sorry. So for people listening audio in the audio
that are terribly confused right now.
Yeah, back to what I was saying is that when you draft that player then has that opportunity to be that starter. But if things aren't working out for them to be ready right away, they don't have to be thrust into that position.
Exactly.
That's
you don't have to rush guys
for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, you don't have to rush them. I mean, last year, the way the NFL works, if you take a first-round running back, you're going to put that first-round running back in your lineup, because the way running back is anymore, if you don't, then you're going to take a second or third round running back, and they still might be thrown in there right away. That's just the nature of that position. Sometimes you get a position like wide receiver where you can play some, but you don't have to be thrown out there. They could ease in the number of snaps. When you're looking at other positions like the defensive secondary or the offensive line, where those guys don't come off the field, that's a whole different story. But let's say you have that guard. The Steelers don't want to go into the draft saying, we don't have 2 starter capable guards. We have to draft one, because that's when you end up having to reach. They don't want to put themselves in that situation. So to me, you need to understand that it's not like the Steelers are quote unquote saving back certain things because they like it in the draft. They don't do that. And when they go to draft, you want best player available, quote unquote, at a position of need. Well, sometimes that position of need just means that there's a way to get them on the field. They have the potential to upgrade what you already have.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a situation where the Steelers were really set at a given position. I mean, set like even I don't even know that I'd say TJ Watt, Bud Dupree. I'm trying to think, okay, let's throw this out here. Kicker. Okay. Because it's obvious. The Steelers are set at kicker. So we'll use that as an example. You don't want to go out and draft a kicker that you realize isn't going to get any time because you're so set at that position. Now, I know that's because it's a kicker. You're going to think, well, that's not a great example. But if the Steelers were completely loaded at wide receiver, and they had, and they had 5 guys that are going to be the 5 guys on the roster. This kind of happened last year. Were you going to draft a wide receiver, in the 6th or 7th round? Chances are they weren't going to make the team. So that you weren't doing that because you weren't able to upgrade that. That's why it's a position of need.
Right. Going in this year, the position that I'd pick right off the top of my head to say that I don't expect to see the Steelers draft in, I would say is tight end.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. That's the one for me, Tim.
That does not mean 100% that the Steelers won't draft the tight end.
Yeah.
Because if the Steelers get to, say, round 4, and there's a tight end that they had, out as a possible round 2 that they think would fit and be an upgrade, they could make that move.
Yeah.
But they don't have to make that move.
But if the Steelers draft a tight end in round 1, you're going to say, what are you thinking? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
That's the whole notion of looking at a position of need. Because if it's your first round pick, in my opinion, you want to have that player be at a position where they could earn the spot. That's why last year, when everyone was talking about it, first round quarterback, I'm like, they're going to sit. They're going to sit. Last year. This year, that's a different story. They wouldn't necessarily, they could, based on other options that the Steelers have, but they wouldn't have to. But if they come out and ball out, then they earn the job. That's exactly what you're looking for all the time.
Yeah.
So in order to understand the free agent philosophy, you have to look at the draft philosophy and look backwards. So the philosophy of the Steelers is we've got to fill every position. We don't need to have 90 guys right now because we'll fill out other stuff, as it goes on. But they need, if there's a huge need, the Steelers have to do it. For example, Jeff and I did this on his Let's Ride when I filled in for him. He wanted to know when it came to the draft, was it a need or a want? And I said a lot of things were wants, where some things were needs. The Steelers, but we were talking about addressing the position at all. For example, tackle. The Steelers need to do something else to tackle. They really do. I mean, unless they are sure that Zach Banner is going to be 100%, and really reliable, which Steelers fans are like, well, he's not. He didn't play last year. And I do want to say something about that here in a little bit. And they have Dan Moore Jr., but Chooks is a free agent and all that other stuff. You could look at guard because you have Dotson and LeGlue, and that's the only people that have really done anything this past year. You need to add something at that position. So now, do you just not add a guard and then say we're going to take care of it in a draft? That's not the way the Steelers do it. That's not the way they do it. So I wanted to say something about Banner real quick since I brought him up. And I'm going to compare him with Devin Bush. A lot of people really down on Devin Bush. Some people want to use the bust word with him. And I'm like, really? He was a Pro Bowl alternate as a rookie. If a different team makes the Super Bowl, Devin Bush is in the Pro Bowl as a rookie. And he wasn't, and it's not like he was terrible before he got hurt. I'd have to go back and really break it down again because it's been a while. I don't know if I don't want to go so far to say he was having a better season, but I'm not saying he was having a worse season when he got hurt. But now coming back off of this injury and having an absolute mess in front of him on the defensive line, people want to call him a bust. To me, that is extremely premature. But anyway, Devin Bush and Zach Banner had similar injuries. Zach Banner had it 5 weeks before Devin Bush, or 4 weeks before. He was week 1. Bush was week 5.
Yep.
They came back, and Zach Banner came back, and obviously he had some setbacks. He was on IR to start the season and everything else. He never got back to the lineup. And people were saying, well, why aren't they going with Banner? Why aren't they going with Banner? And I kept wanting to say is even if Zach Banner is back at 85 or 90%, Is he your best option over other guys that are at 100%? Is an 85% Zach Banner better than Chuka Okorafor or Dan Moore Jr. or Joe Haig?
And apparently the Steelers felt that answer was
And
no.
the Steelers felt that he wasn't. But here's my question. Was an 85% Devin Bush better than the other alternatives that they had at inside linebacker? And the answer was
the Steelers felt yes.
Yes, they felt like yes, he was.
Yeah.
If the Steelers would have had some better options at inside linebacker, Devin Bush might have got the Zach Banner treatment, for all we know. So you still had to put the best options that you had on the field out there, even if hey, if he's not going to be a place where he could hurt himself over, re-injure himself and put himself in danger by playing. You don't want to do that at all. But, Devin Bush working his way back was still a better option at that position versus with Zach Banner working his way back. They felt like he wasn't a better option there. So keep that in mind when you kind of compare both of those players. So sorry, that was me kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent.
No,
not a tangent.
No, not you.
No. So but that also weighs into the Steelers free agent philosophy. That's going to change some of the things that they do, because the next thing I wanted to talk about with their philosophy is first, in-house versus the street. I don't want to say outhouse, right? In-house versus the street. Adding things. Because remember, if the Steelers sign someone like Juju Smith-Schuster, or if they sign someone like Ahkello Witherspoon, it's technically a free agent signing. It's
Correct.
Just one from someone who played for them last year. Okay. But here's a good question. I'm going to bring it up right now because I was just about ready to say this. So Steel Dog 88, sorry that you had to throw in your $2 into the tip jar for this, because I was just getting ready to say it. How much would we save if Banner was cut? The answer is $5 million. $5 million. And that's going to be something from an article series that I have on the website right now, where I take every player that has a, that has a salary cap, either the dead money or the money saved is over $1 million, fits into three categories. One is you can't cut them because the dead money's more than what it would be for them to play. That one went out today. Then tomorrow are ones that you could cut them, but the dead money's way more than what you're going to save. And then you have a big group of players like with Zach Banner that where, hey, if you cut them, there's some dead money, but there's an awful lot of money that you could save there.
Right.
And that's the deal with Banner. $5 million, it would only be 1.625 in dead money. So the Steelers have to ask themselves, do they want to pay Zach Banner $5 million? That's the $5 million question, isn't it, Rich?
That's the $5 million question. We all have our thoughts on it.
We all have our thoughts.
But in the end, it's up to the Steelers.
Yes. Something that the Steelers could do, and I could see this, is they could say, hey, we said we were going to pay you $5 million this year and everything else. We'll give you $4 million as a signing bonus, $1 million base salary, and we'll extend you for another year or two. In a way that would then they could cut him. Then he doesn't lose not a single penny of what he would make this year otherwise, and it would be better for the Steelers. That's something they could do.
Yeah,
I don't know if they will. Maybe they decide, $5 million is not so bad for Banner. To me, I don't think you bring him in for that. You keep him for that money. You've either got to change it or depart.
Yep.
You agree?
I got another super chat I want to bring up.
Bring it up.
Okay. So Steeler Nation 412 says, would this work for Watson? A first, a second, and Bush and Edmonds. The answer is no, that can't work.
Can't work.
Because Edmonds is a free agent.
He's a free agent. The Steelers don't have him. Unless he meant Trey Edmonds, and I don't think anyone's going to do that. Nope. So that won't work. First of all, no, won't work. Second of all, why would you want it to work?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Two, for all we know, you want to give up that, and we have no idea if Deshaun Watson will ever play another snap in the NFL. Too much of a question.
Yeah.
So we're just assuming too much there. That's why I'm staying away from that subject, because you could give up a lot and get absolutely nothing. That's like the Oakland Raiders giving up a third and a fifth, paying a bunch of money for Antonio Brown, who never even played a snap.
Yep.
And demanded his money. And thought, why aren't they paying me? They signed me to this. And he never played a snap for him. How do you not play a snap for someone and think that they owe you the money?
That's a great
I don't get that. But anyway, so you want to steer clear of those kinds of situations.
That would be one too many Vontaze Burficts to the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of those things. So and what else do you want to say about the philosophy? So you think they're looking to fill out everything.
They look to fill out everything. Okay. The Steelers tend to not break the bank on free agent signings. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't. If we sign one big name free agent signing, that's about as high as the Steelers go. And even then they try to do it and not break the bank.
Yeah.
They fill in a lot with a lot of what I call serviceable NFL guys.
Yes.
You know, I think of the Steelers back through the years. You know, who are some of the biggest free agent signings for the Steelers? That's a question for you, Dave.
The biggest free agent, meaning outside free agent signings, the one who they paid the most to was Steven Nelson. He had the biggest contract of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
You have Ladarius Green.
Yep.
He was a pretty big one. Trying to think of a few.
Who's the biggest name guy? And I'm talking
Kevin
Steelers.
Green.
Kevin Green.
That's got to be the biggest one.
And
of course, he didn't make as much as Steven Nelson because of the NFL then versus now.
Exactly. But to me, that was one of the biggest free agent signings the Steelers ever had was Kevin Green.
Yep.
Then we get in, we're talking Ladarius Green was our big flashy signing. And it's like, ugh. Now, the Steven Nelson one I thought was really good.
Yeah. I was going to say Farrier's another one, coming from the Jets.
Yep.
But they didn't. That wasn't big because he was considered a bust, and the Steelers were trying to salvage him, right?
Correct. And I will go out and answer Jerry Cherry Band's question. He asked, the bus was a trade, right? Correct.
Bus was a trade.
Bus was a trade.
Joe Hayden, you could say that, but that was weird because that was during training camp and not during the free agency period.
He was another one I was thinking about.
Also fits in another category. Yeah.
Brad Jewett, another go. Brian Clark,
but he wasn't a big name guy.
Wasn't a big name guy before the Steelers. These were guys that were serviceable. There've been playing guys that have been serviceable guys, fit well in the Steelers scheme, and made their name here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so,
like I said, so you can't count Bettis in there. Kevin Green is probably the biggest name because even though Steven Nelson was there, his name wasn't that big. Ladarius Green,
it was big, but
bigger,
it
but it's not like, oh wow. Ladarius Green did have more of the name, but the way it all played out, he never played in the NFL again after playing a couple games for the Steelers.
Right.
Okay. So there was plenty of stuff there. Here's my question before we dive into some stuff here at the end. Mike, Tom,
Jerry Cherry's going out there. Hold on, he has another one. Oh, missed it.
You missed it.
Correct. That was another one. Deuce Staley was one. But again,
D'Angelo Williams.
Correct. But these were guys when we brought them in. Those guys that had those bigger names here and there were not. They were like, I think Deuce Staley was later in his career. He came in, knew he was splitting time, that he wasn't coming in to be the feature back.
And they weren't outbidding everybody to do it.
Correct.
Okay. When the Steelers almost got Dante Hightower, where he came in, had a contract, and then decided to leave and go back to New England, that would have been one.
Yeah.
Big name person, Eric Ebron.
Yes.
That's a bigger name that the Steelers got.
It was.
But they didn't break the bank for him. They really didn't. So
So again, Steeler Pittsburgh brings up who I feel are the typical guys we go after. Jericho Cotchery.
Yeah.
Right? Good NFL player, not a superstar.
Yeah.
Not a superstar type player. And we go and we get him, and he was very, again, fit something the Steelers were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Worked well in our system. Made, money-wise, made middle of the road down type of money for us, not big money.
Okay. I got sidetracked because Tyler brought up something. This makes so much more sense with what Dave Shipley was saying, because I didn't understand him, because I didn't know about this. I really didn't until Tyler brought it up. And now this confirms that apparently it was that Arthur Moats credited a BTSC article on his podcast today regarding the Kevin Colbert press conference. So that's what Dave Shipley was talking about. Now it makes sense to me. I had no understanding of it. So that was why. So thank you for clearing that up, Todd. I got to go back and watch that now or listen to it. I don't know. I don't know if he's on YouTube or if they're all podcasts. I'll have to find it.
Mm-hmm. We've been getting the site has been getting more and more. I
wish I knew if it was my article or Jeff's article.
I wouldn't say accolades. It's just more recognition for some of the things we've been reporting on, or statistics we work on, or things like that. And it's pretty cool.
People keep throwing out more of these free agent names. Morgan Burnett. There's another one, the Steelers aren't bringing in that tier 1 guy. You're looking at it, maybe bottom tier 2 people that they think they can get more out of and things like that. John Bostic, names that you've heard of and things like that. Okay. Wait. I forgot. Oh, why can't I remember his name? The safety turned linebacker that they brought in with Devin Bush as a rookie. And then they got Bush. Oh, they got him Mark Barron. Yes. I couldn't remember the name. Thank you, Brian Brown. Why could I not remember that name? Yeah. So, hey, Moneybags throws $2 into the tip jar, says BTSC tailgate party this season. Make it happen. We'll have to see about it. See, I'm not a big tailgate guy, but we get up to the games, we get there early and everything. I mean, we try to do stuff where we let fans know when we're coming, and we say, hey, come hang out with us pregame. And we had people do that last year. Tyler W was there. So so trust me, if any of the staff is going to be at a game, we're definitely going to let you all know. Whether we could coordinate something bigger where we can get more of us there, that's the thing that gets tricky. So but this is great seeing all this stuff. Someone did bring up Derek Watt. I didn't think the Steelers were going to get Derek Watt. I thought he was too high of Derek Watt and Eric Ebron were both in the same offseason. I'm like, the Steelers are going to get either one of those guys, and they did. I think Wisniewski was the same one there. That didn't
they do go and get guys, but you can't sit here as a fan and think, okay, the Steelers are going to go get one of the top 2 corners in free agency, one of the top 2 wide receivers in free agency, one of the top quarterbacks in free agency. That they're going to get 4 or 5 of these top guys in free agency, because that's just not what the Steelers do, because that's not the most wise, what the wisest use of their salary cap.
Yep. There's another one. It says the right tackle from Dallas Cowboys. That's Flozo Adams. That was another one. Okay.
Yeah.
But he was brought in during training camp, I think. But I can't remember. What you just said. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by all these names. This is great. I love it.
I'm actually sitting here thinking this is what we should have used for our last.
That would have been a great final question.
I know. After they got rolling with him, I was like, we should have used that as the final question.
That would have been a great one. So, back to that's going to be so much better than what we do.
I know. We suck.
We suck at that. Oh, well. Maybe we don't even do it now. We got to do something. All right. When it comes to the Steelers, you're saying they don't go out and get the one big name cornerback or the one big name wide receiver. But the argument was, and I saw someone say it in the live chat. They're like, but this year they have money. That's true. But here's the thing I want to ask. We talk about this philosophy of filling in all the gaps. Do the Steelers have too many gaps to fill them all in free agency? What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. Right now we have cap money, but the problem is we don't have quite as many guys signed and under contract that we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
So people will have to balance expectations because of that fact. We have a lot more money than we usually have, but if we have to fill a lot more contracts, that means on average those contract numbers then would have to come down some, because we've got to sign so many guys.
Exactly. That are the Steelers going to be in the mix to go get a few, bigger name people?
As I say, a couple high
profile.
I would grab a couple. They'll do what they can to grab a couple of higher tier guys. Now, what some people may not like is it may not be a higher tier cornerback or quarterback, but maybe they go grab a higher tier guard or tackle or defensive tackle, right?
Yeah.
To fill things out. So, in the end, it's what I constantly say is that, from my opinion, is when the Steelers go about and do this, they will formulate a plan. Like, actually, I think going into free agency, I think the Steelers formulate many plans. They're like, we'd like to go after, like, this guy, and if we get these guys here, then we know we can, we'll target these lower tier guys for these positions, like, it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
And as the puzzle starts to fall in, as the pieces start to fall into place, then they start to know what they're going to do elsewhere.
Yep. You summed it up fantastic. That they want to try to fill in the entire puzzle through free agency. If anything, the draft is to make the picture prettier.
Exactly.
You have the pieces, but now you're going to be looking at a prettier picture when all said and done.
But the other thing is the way this puzzle goes together is like the puzzle's going together. We don't know what that puzzle is going to look like when it's completed.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how pretty it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, because part of that depends on what pieces they get and how they fit in together.
Exactly.
And then you look at that picture, and then what that picture looks like determines what you go and do in the draft.
Exactly. And the bottom line is the Steelers can't go into the draft saying, that there's an offensive, saying it's an offensive lineman, that they have to get an offensive lineman in the draft because they don't have someone adequate to start. But you also can't go into the draft wanting an offensive lineman and having nowhere to put them if they are ready to go and ready to play. So that's how it all has to all fit together. Here, I don't want to lose this one. This is from BSG 74, $4.99 in the tip jar. Thank you very much. Says, bring in Jacoby Brissett from Miami. Worked with Canada and North Carolina also. Or that's NC State. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. To me, someone like this, it's all about if the price is right.
Correct.
I'm not spending $10 or $12 million to bring him in, because I would say bring him in and say, you're in the mix. You have just as much of an opportunity to start as any of these guys. I'd be all for that. But once you do that, then you also, I don't know that, for people that really want them to draft a quarterback in the first round, if you bring in someone like that you're paying there, then the likelihood of saying you're going to go quarterback in the first round is way low. And a lot of people like that because they don't like this quarterback draft class. So I could see this going either way, but I think you and I agree with what we think their philosophy is going to be. They're going to try to fill out everything, which they couldn't do last year. So therefore the draft is just going to add more. That's the joy of let's say, a very popular player for a lot of Steelers fans that for them to take in the first round is Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum. And a lot of people say, "Oh, there you go, center. Move Green to guard." Like I said, I'm still not of that thing that thinks that that's going to be something that's if Green's not your answer at center, it's going to be hard for him to be your answer at guard. But bottom line is, if you're going in with Kendrick Green as your center before the draft, and you have an opportunity to say, "Hey, we have what we feel is an upgrade." Now, some people could debate whether it's upgrade. He's small. He's smaller than Green. He's short, but he's also has some other things from Green. So we could get into that, whether or not he's a big upgrade or not.
That's for
I
another
liked what
show.
I've seen. That's a whole different show.
Yep.
But if the Steelers choose to do that, and that's part of the reason why the Steelers are saying, "Hey, we know Kendrick Green's position flexible. If you bring in a center, it doesn't mean that you've given up on Green. It just means that Green has multiple positions where he could fight for a job."
Yeah.
And he might not win at any of them, or he could still win the center job, or he could still win the guard job. That's the whole point. And I think that's the narrative that they've been shaping. So wouldn't it be nice if the Steelers filled everything else in free agency and could draft a player like that at a position that you have someone there but you could get an upgrade? That's what you ultimately want. That's really what you want.
We want our draft picks to be luxury picks.
Exactly.
Not necessity picks.
Yeah. Exactly. So
that's part of what makes the Steelers the Steelers.
Yeah. And I said it, what year was it they didn't have the first round draft pick? That was 2020, correct?
Yes.
They didn't have it because they picked up Minkah Fitzpatrick in 2019. If you look at the way they drafted, remember they didn't have a first round pick. So you already knew that you weren't looking for an automatic starter. But if you looked at the positions that the Steelers drafted, especially at the top, they were drafting for players that they were going to lose following that season. You draft Chase Claypool knowing that Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent at the end of the year. You draft Alex Highsmith knowing that Bud Dupree's a free agent at the end of the year. Things of that nature. So sometimes the Steelers are looking ahead of who's going into the last year of their contract as well. So there's some really interesting stuff. We've kind of really gone over here. So this, I'm going to change up our final question, Rich. I'm going to change it up.
Okay.
All right, just a little bit.
I already feel like we've done it because I'm telling you that.
So here's going to be a final question. I got to remind everyone. Got to remind everyone the rules. We're not going to take a long time to do this, but remind you of the rules. Don't answer the question until we say, "All right, the question is now in the live chat."
In writing on your live chat.
In writing,
you will see it on your screen.
And we will say it when we're putting it on the screen. Until then, if you answer the question, we will put you in timeout.
Look,
for not following directions. Because we're just warning you right now. So here's the question I'm going to ask. Okay?
To me.
Yeah, I'm going to really change this up. Okay?
Great.
How many, when it comes, no, this is going to be tough because the Steelers still have some of their own players they could sign.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not asking for positions. If you write down positions, I will not bring up your comment. I want a number from you. How many free agents of players who were not on the Steelers last year do you think they will have starting come week 1?
All right, I'm going to take the special team stuff out of it. We're going to be looking. I'm just going to look at the starting 22, the 11 offense, 11 defense. New were not on the Steelers roster last year.
Yeah, so like if they bring back Witherspoon, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count. Okay, good. Is this starting week 1 or starting at the end of the year?
We're going to say starting week 1.
Week 1.
Yeah.
5.
Okay, and someone's going to not get up. Here we go. I've already got to put users in timeouts.
People already
they still don't follow directions. You're going to say 5? That's pretty close. I'm going to say 4. I'm going to say 4.
I almost said 4 and then thought, nope, that
maybe
is going to end up. I have a feeling it's going to be.
I'm hoping whoever the Steelers take in the first round ends up being a starter. So here we go. And beyond that, I just want them to be a role player to start off in week 1. So here we go. It is now in the live chat, the number of starting free agents for the Steelers come week 1. Just take a shot. And you know what's nice? We got to write this down. And then week 1, make note of this and say, hey, how many were there? So we can come back and say,
wow, everyone went all the numbers. Okay.
Yeah, I love this. Steelers Pittsburgh says 4.5. You take that as the over or the under?
He averaged our answers.
He averaged our answer. Okay. Stacy Lynn says 5. Andrew Wilmore says 22.
Andrew,
yeah. Yeah, right. Because TJ Watt's not going to be a starter come week 1. Okay. George Teston says 4. Sherry Richard says 4. Steel Dog 88 says 3. Brad Jewett says 4. BF Bud says 4. That's a very common answer. Okay. Brian Mizwa says 4. Brian Brown says 3. Awesome Stuff 1983 says 3. Greg W says 2. BMK Bully Mob Kennel says 6. Wow, they're going to dip big into free agency. Okay. Demetrios Demetrios says 2.
Manzarius.
Okay, very good. Okay. Steeler Chick 46 says 5. Dion Eaton says 4. Okay, I'll give this one an okay to put it up there. Brian Blackstock says 3 because he said he specifically broke it down to 1 offense, 2 defense. He didn't list positions, but he did say that. So I'll give that. John Stevens gives a range, 3 to 6. That's probably a good answer.
You're a good range.
Yeah. Great range. We could have done it as an over-under. Kobe Grant says 4, but I wanted to see what people actually said. Okay, Mr. Hammers says 4. Christopher 11 says 3, just like the 3s. He says no. He says stars on our helmet. Here you go. Here's your lesson for the day, Christopher 11. Hypocycloids.
Yep,
they are hypocycloids. Okay, there we are. Okay, Mimi Smith because of all the eyes. Says 3. Matthew Baum says 3. Devin Logan says 3. Okay. Nate Van Slyke says thinking 4 or 5. Okay. Carlton Curry says 4. Tom Vallejo says 6. Rico Parsons says 2. Okay. So Tyler W. wanted to know, do they have to currently be off the roster? Bottom line is this. It is someone who was not with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year and was not drafted by them this year. That's what we're looking at. They weren't on the Steelers last year. That includes IR, even like a Stephon Tuitt or anything. They had to be not on the Steelers. Like I would count Tuitt as being on the Steelers. So Moneybags says 4. Eric Dove says 3 is my guess. John Phillips says 4. Jerry Cherry goes with he wanted to one up. What was it? Steelers Pittsburgh. He says 5.5. And I think we got them all.
Now, I'm really hoping that people stop.
Rick Quest says 4. Okay.
Stop and thinking about this as they made this answer real quick. Is, if you gave a lower number, you see the Steelers trying to re-sign a lot of their own free agents. That's got to be what
it is. Yeah.
And if you go to a higher number, you see some of those people going and the Steelers having to go outside to look for some of those folks. So,
I'm starting to think
really what these come down to. So here, Tyler W. finally gave you his answer. Then after you answer,
because I think they could have 3 alone.
Tyler W. said 3, by the way.
Yes, I got you. Tyler W. said 3, and I think they could have 3 alone on offense because you could have 2 on the offensive line. You could have as many as 3 on the offensive line.
You could.
The question
actually, offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah,
is partly why I said 5.
I'm starting to lean towards your 5 because wide receiver. The question is, are they starting? You're going to have an outside person as in the top 5, in my opinion. You're probably going to get somebody from the outside as one of your 5 on the team. The question is, they lined up to be the starter in week 1.
Correct.
That's, the Steelers don't have a starting strong safety right now. They don't have a strong safety at all. Is it going to be Terrell Evans? Is it going to be someone they sign outside? of things. You know,
Yeah.
these are the questions. So for those of you that are saying things like 3, you're probably looking for players like Edmonds and Witherspoon and players of that nature to be coming back. So
Yes.
this was a good question that you really had to think it through. So this was a lot of fun today. Rich, maybe you could address it in your final thoughts. I didn't even give you a chance to mention the Brian Flores hiring. If you want to mention it in your final thoughts, feel free. If not, you can just give other final thoughts. I'm giving the microphone
I will
to
actually,
you.
I will get that in my final thoughts, and I will talk about that hiring real quick. Of course, we broke it quick to each other on the Slack channel. I mean, literally, probably, as soon as it got out that it happened, we knew. And
I was coaching a 4th and 5th grade basketball game.
I was doing a happy dance. I was just getting ready to call a basketball game over at the college, as the PA announcer, and it came up, and I was like doing a little happy dance in the gym, and one of my coworkers was like, "What's up with you?" I was like, "We just signed Brian Flores." Brian Flores is going to be coaching the Steelers.
With basically the Steelers defense lost Keith Butler, replaced Brian Flores. The only thing different is Austin has the title of coordinator, while Flores has the title of assistant. Which I mean, that's it. Otherwise, that's
so to me, that was fantastic. I've heard just so much optimism from a lot of Steeler fans about that. Some that I know up around here personally that sometimes get down on things like this, even they are excited about it. So that is just something that I look that has a lot of potential for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was great. Do you want to say anything more about that before I wrap us up and get us out of here?
And if you're still not convinced, like I said, either listen to Jeffrey Benedict's from the Cutting Room Floor podcast that was out on our audio only platform today, or check out KT Smith's breakdown in an article at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, not or. Go check them both out. Go check them both out. If you were on the fence somewhere, they may say some things that get you more excited about it. So check those out. Hey, this was fun for me tonight, like it was for you. This I feel finally is we're really starting to get into what I call our off-season flow. We've got the next 3 weeks kind of around this free agency stuff before free agency goes. It keeps me excited. It keeps me looking specifically at that kind of news. I go looking for that content. I will real quick, bring up Greg W's $5 in the tip jar. Thank you, Greg. Thanks, guys. Great show. Part of what made this show great was actually everybody out here in the live chat hopping on when we got to talking about that whole who were some of our bigger or key free agents that we've had through the years. You all made that fantastic. That was great. Hey, get ready. Bring it next week. We're going to be talking free agency. Whether we don't know if we're going to talk offense or defense next week. We haven't decided yet. We probably won't decide till Saturday or Sunday, maybe even Monday. Please don't say Tuesday morning, because that won't give me enough time to get my brain into gear. But we'll be going that route, and we'll be coming in. We're going to talk players again. So everybody out there in the live chat, get ready. Bring your A game, because I can't wait.